Yo guys, Crazytendo here. You ever wonder how this is the greatest game of all time? Because I do. What's so, good and special about it anyways? It's just a stupid old game from the 90s that, doesn't look that good at all. Anyways, we are here today to talk about the evolution of the 3D Zelda games. Man, did you really need my help for talking about the 3D Zeldas? Yes, I did. You know me really well and are basically the only one who can really help me out with this. No shit. Alright. So what's the first game we have to talk about? Ocarina of Time. Oh goody, that overrated game from the 90s. The one and only. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time was Nintendo's first attempt at turning the Zelda series into 3D, and honestly, this game helped define adventure games as a whole. There's just one little thing that stands between me and the game, which is, it's overrated. Ocarina of Time is one of the most overrated games for me. Because, I was born in 2007 and I played the game for the first time in October 21. So, I don't have that childhood nostalgia or anything like that most people do. I don't know what it would have been like to experience this back in, 1998. The way this game aged is a bit mixed, but it's still somehow the highest rated game of all time. The gameplay just feels wrong, and I don't know, it just ain't my thing. The world of Ocarina is pretty cool though, and was amazing for its time. The dungeons in this game also stand out, especially the likes of the Shadow Temple and the Spirit Temple, and Ocarina includes the most dungeons out of any 3D Zelda game. The time travel concept via the Ocarina of Time was extremely unique as well, and lets you play as young Link or adult Link in two time periods. On paper, this game sounds awesome, but in actuality, what the hell am I looking at? Alright, so you have this game, Ocarina of Time. I'm assuming it sold pretty well? Oh, it did. 7.6 million copies in its life. Alright, let's get out of that way. I believe the next game we have to talk about is Majora's Mask. Nope, you're correct. Let's jump into the next one. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, released back in the year 2000 and used the same quote-unquote high-quality engine and graphics of Ocarina of Time. Bet you really like that, huh? Since the game borrowed tons of assets from Ocarina of Time, the game was completed in just 1 year. Majora's Mask has a super dark story, and is way different than Ocarina of Time, yet the gameplay plays out nearly the same. If you're like me, and don't like the way Ocarina of Time feels, yeah, you won't like Majora's Mask controls either. Aside from the story and a couple of gameplay elements, both of these games played the same, and fans didn't care at all. Wait. If Majora's Mask is on Ocarina's engine, does that mean it was an N64 game? Yep, it was. Must have been one of the last N64 games, as the GameCube released just a year later. Speaking of the GameCube, what 3D Zeldas did we get there? Oh heck yeah, Wind Waker time! So this is where all of life's happiness ended up. The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. The most charming looking Zelda game yet, but back when it was revealed, fans were super pissed off. I mean, you go from this to this. People wanted Ocarina of Time with better graphics. They got a better game. That made them angry. Let's be real. I'd take this over this. Hell, this looks better than most modern games. The game was released back in 2002 and was a super divisive topic at the time. Kind of like the NSO expansion pack back in late 2021. But over time, the fans grew to enjoy the art style and the game itself. Maybe you'll grow to appreciate me as well. Despite its apparently bad graphics, which I absolutely adore, Wind Waker was still a traditional Zelda game at heart, with that puzzle adventure feel that the series had. The game is home to so many cool things, one of which was the closest Zelda ever got to being open world before Breath of the Wild. The Great Sea. It's absolutely massive, and you can just sail around and explore to your heart's content. The story is also the first one to give Link some real emotional motivation, as it starts off with him trying to rescue his kidnapped sister. The game's dungeons are amazing, with my personal favorite being the Forsaken Fortress. It's a fresh new idea, where basically you've lost your sword and you have to sneakily go through the fortress and reclaim it, while avoid being caught by Searchlight
or these assholes. Wind Waker has so many cool things and is just full of joy, and seriously, I'm never, ever gonna get bored of that art style. This is such a great game, and I think Toon Link is honestly such a cool character, and 1 year after this game released, oh great, there's 4 of them now!
We're done with Wind Waker? We're done with Wind Waker. Up next is Twilight Princess. Alright, what's special about this game? Woof. I'm sorry, what? Woof. Okay.
The year is 2006, and Nintendo finally delivered the new realistic Zelda fans had been begging for. Enter The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. This game was full of amazing fights and wacky puzzles, and while its story isn't as sad as Majora's, it's a close second. And man, the new Wolfling form is pretty cool. This is the Zelda game fans wanted. This was the next Ocarina of Time, the new king of the series.
So why were people worn out by it a few months later? Wait, what? Yeah, the hype for Twilight Princess disappeared nearly as fast as your fan base after you said Ocarina of Time is bad. Jeez man, give me a break.
Twilight Princess's hype died out very soon, as the fans were just bored by it. It wasn't as replayable as Ocarina of Time apparently was, and this confused fans. It had the same story structure as Ocarina, as well as similar puzzles, similar combat, similar enemies. It just felt like another damn Zelda game. And I think that's basically what bored out the fans. They were just so tired of the series and how it was structured, as well as how it worked. Each of the 4 3D Zelda games that were released at this point in time had tons and tons of effort put into them, and were all beautifully made, but at core were just the same.
Oh, alright, so basically the fans took notice of this pattern, and then I'm guessing Nintendo decided to really change up the series and make it extremely unsimplified for the next entry. Yep, and Nintendo localized Mother 3 right afterwards.
Enter 2011, where Nintendo released The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, aka the most linear and simply structured 3D Zelda game to date. Presentation-wise, this game is amazing. It's filled with beautiful environments, combining Twilight Princess's realistic graphics with Wind Waker's vibrant colors, and with some added post-processing to make the whole world have that painted feel to it. The game has an amazing orchestra, only rivaled by its spectacular story. Skyward Sword had the chance to be the greatest Zelda game of all time, with the story, music, and graphics, but the gameplay is just way too linear. After waiting 5 years since Twilight Princess, the fans were not expecting a simplified version of that old Zelda formula. But hey, this is the same company who made Switch Sports, so anything is possible. However, unlike Switch Sports, I think this game is amazing, and not a mid piece of shit. Skyward Sword is an excellent game.
Wow, you have some absolutely hot takes today, and I respect that.
Skyward Sword's game structure isn't bad in the slightest, it's just basically the same thing we've had since 1998. If the fan base was into that linear progression of the past 3D Zelda games, this game would have been the dream. Except it just isn't what people wanted, and due to this, Skyward Sword didn't sell that great, and the Zelda series was starting to feel old.
Whatever happened with the series? Nintendo seemed to have hit the absolute jackpot back in 1998, but the quality and copies sold just dropped down. It seems fans weren't just interested anymore after the 5th time of basically the same formula. Nintendo had to change the series, so 3D Zelda went on a long break, and Nintendo basically had to redo the entire series to create something fresh, new, and amazing.
Details were kept secret about this new Zelda game for ages, and we only got the name of this new game in 2016. What we didn't know was that this game was open world, and you could play how you wanted to. This is the complete opposite of all the other 3D Zeldas up to this point in time, and when The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild released in 2017, it really was, well, a breath of fresh air. The hype and expectations for this game were so high, and this game exceeded those by a lot. The vast open world, the divine landscapes, the quiet yet beautiful piano accompaniments playing along your journey. This game is truly the ultimate Zelda game, and for me, it's one of the best games of all time. It really is just amazing. Look at this grass, man. If only IRL grass was this good, maybe I'd go outside sometimes.
Imagine not touching grass, bozo. Oh my god, will you just shut up, man?
Breath of the Wild is a number of things. Massive, beautiful, inspirational, but disappointing is not one of them, and that is why it is the best Zelda game of all time. It's the perfect kind of game where the player can play the way they choose to, and this whole world is essentially their playground. In Breath of the Wild, you can tackle the story and bosses the way you want, in the order you want, or just go directly to the final boss, Calamity Ganon, right after the tutorial sequence. The formula of the previous 3D Zeldas is just non-existent here. No more keys to find, no more mini quests you have to do, no more linearity in this vast monster of an open world. Every single corner of Breath of the Wild has a secret to find, placed in the correct places to get with your moveset, yet the world feels natural, untouched. This is the perfect game, and really I just love it. Financially, this game sold incredibly well. In the past 5 years, Breath of the Wild has sold over 25 million copies. This game absolutely towers over the rest of the series, doing far, far better than Nintendo ever expected. It truly undid the previous entries, and for the right reason. I'm really looking forward to the future of 3D Zelda, and let's hope that Breath of the Wild 2 is as phenomenal, if not more, as the first game.
Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be amazing, and honestly there's so much to look forward to from this game. There's so many cool things that are going to be expanded on from the first game, and it's just going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to this game so much, and honestly just thinking about it right now gives me so much hype and excitement. Literally nothing can ruin a moment like this.